All right, let me see if I can make this a full expression science fictionally. Anyway, this is Jeff Carroll Sci-fi Express Lane. Yesterday, I was in a conversation with some science fiction writers, comic book people, and so forth. And we kind of got into a conversation of historical license and when is it opportunity to just accept that certain things are fake, and that because it's in a comic book or it's because it's in science fiction, it gives you the umbrella license to kind of not have to stick to the facts of the person or place or thing, whatever it is, but you don't have to tell the truth because it's already inherent when you saying it's fiction, Oh, it's a superhero. It doesn't have to be, Gotham is not really New York, so who cares, how you portray, the people and the characters. And there is a line, don't think that there ain't no line. You can't just go up here and say whatever you want to say. You can't even take fictional characters that, people don't have proof existed, like Jesus, and, and give him words that he didn't say. You can't, I know the TV show Preacher does, not TV show, the TV show and comic takes a lot of liberties on that, but it's really hard to do, and they push the limit intentionally because Jesus is supposedly untouchable. But in terms of peoples and places that are sacred, you got to be careful because even though Preacher does it, you don't know what kind of backlash they're dealing with, behind the scenes. Let me just say this: in life, you can do whatever you want to do. You just got to be prepared for the consequences. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality. Like Chris Rock, you can say whatever you want to say about anybody. Look at your bald head. He could have said that. Your head so bald I can read your mind. Easy joke, But you got to be ready for the consequences. One of my comedians, Garfield, immediately said after that joke that, you got to read the room. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, comedians go places by themselves. And, comedians, poets, speakers, they don't have an entourage like musical artists do. They don't have a team like a basketball player or a football player or a baseball player do. These guys go out, their name is on the marquee, they're all by themselves. So you kind of got to, watch what you say. And the same thing goes for a writer. You can't just write anything. Are you out of your mind? I mean, technically, you can write anything, but you have to be ready for the consequences. And consequences can be death, beat up, culture canceled, discredited. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He never studied this part of the history. His book is stupid. She's a this and that. She's just a, they categorize you and use things negatively. You're a hotep, you're a feminist, you're on the LGBT agenda. He's a racist. He's a sellout Negro. All of those things. She ain't never been to China. She's, you ain't really Haitian. No real Haitian would have written this. So yeah, you can write whatever you want, but you got to be ready for the consequences. You know what I'm saying? The consequences are real deal. So we were talking about Moon Knight, right? And I'm on some Hotep, some Pan-African, feeling sort of way. So I'm real about it. I don't have no problem telling you, I'm a Pan-Africanist. I hold the Nile Valley civilizations, whether it's Kush, Kemites, or Nubians, to a high level of regard. They're a shining example of what human civilizations can achieve, or humans in general can achieve. and to put a blemish on them or say anything other than they were, to me is disrespectful, and I have a problem with it. So if you portray them as Sumerians, you portray them as Arabs, you portray them as Greeks, I'm gonna have a problem. You portray them as Europeans, it's a problem. I think it's disrespectful. Moon Knight doesn't only do that, he gets the mythology wrong. So the mythology is Greek imposed Egyptian mythology. You know what I'm saying? And that's a problem, because the deities did not behave the way, and they didn't have the philosophy that the deities in Moon Knight behave. These guys got evil, they've got bad, gods, they got jealous gods. No, there's a different way, so if we're going to accept, for me, right, if we're going to accept they did great things like open heart surgery, building pyramids, we can't demonize the individuals that do these things. If Imhotep was the one that gets credit for doing it, and we don't know nothing else, we can't say he was an adulterer, we can't say he was, a pedophile, we can't say he was a serial killer, we can't say he was bloodthirsty. Any of those things that we don't know that are negative, we can't really say. I mean, on the other side, we can't really say the good stuff either, but, people don't really get in arms about you making somebody better than they were, well, or going in the direction that they already get credit for. So if he's already done good things, it ain't that bad to say he's doing other good things or he's done other good things. But it's, when you try to take somebody like Imhotep, world's first multi-genius, you could do it to Stephen Hawking, you could do it to Einstein, you turn these people evil, right? Because Imhotep was as real as Einstein and Stephen Hawking were. So if you do it to even any of them, it's disrespectful. It's wrong. You should get consequences for it, whether it's canceled, whatever it is, labeled, pigeonholed, boxed in, whatever you want to call it, you deserve some consequences for it, because I don't think it is right. Same thing if you mislabel people's, mythology, a group of people, you call them cannibals, and they weren't cannibals. That's disrespectful. Matter of fact, if they were of a high level of human behavior, and you take their human behavior down to, a culture of incest people, incest, cannibalism, bestiality, that's disrespectful. It's wrong. It's crossing the line. There's a level of nudging. You'd be like, you didn't know Jesus was always good. He did steal a bar of candy or whatever. That's fine. But then to turn Jesus into the Prince of Darkness, and there's probably some people that totally believe that, that's still crazy. You should deserve some consequences. And what are consequences? Let's look at what consequences are. Consequences are people's way, society's way of saying, we don't agree with what you did. That's really all it is. However, you can test that out before you do it. I have a story about an LGBT serial killer, right? I've known an LGBT serial killer. I've read about LGBT serial killers. However, I'm bringing my gold digger killer writing skills to this story and putting a whole lot of hate around it and combining other things that I've said and have heard. I'm still not writing that story. I'm getting closer and closer to it every day, especially now that I have known somebody that's in the process of transgendering themselves since they were like 7 years old. So now it gives me a lot more insight to this person's life. The people that I know that were drag queens and transgender interests, I met them as they were adults. I heard about their childhood, but I didn't know. This is the first time that I've known a child, and I actually know two, but I don't. The other one isn't old enough to fully proceed The older one is definitely in the process of taking hormones. So anyway, I do think you need to be mindful. We were talking about, the lies in history. Yeah, telling a joke, telling a story is an agreement between you and the listening audience, whoever the hell that audience is. If you're writing a book, then it's to whoever in the world that will read it, may read it, stumble across it. Books are a bigger audience. Same thing with comics. You can tell a joke to the small crowd in the club, but now with technology and somebody records you, now your joke and what you said is going out to the world, right? So you got to be mindful of it. But it's your agreement. You saying to them, hey, it's okay if I say this? They say okay by laughing. Whereas with a book, you don't know until you get it out there if you want to go that route. Otherwise, you have to have beta readers. You have to kind of read your room and get to know your audience. So that is the challenge. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I say this because, one of my friends I was talking to was saying, oh, what do you think about, Columbus or Hitler or, some of the other people, and I say, yeah, Hitler has definitely has a narrative, which is sort of accurate, unlike Christopher Columbus, whose narrative is sort of the opposite of what he was. Sure, if you were to say Thomas Jefferson, and this is talking points, right? Abraham Lincoln, right? Abraham Lincoln, no, they go by Thomas Jefferson. All right, Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers. If you expose him as the rapist, oppressive person that he was, some people will probably get upset. And that might be because, we had this whole years of taking down the statues and other stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if it's correct and it is what it is, then yes. Now, you write a story about, because you still got to give both sides. You can't just say, oh, he only was a rapist to Sally Hemings. No, you got to say, this guy lived a dual life, which is what he was. He lived a dual life. He portrayed himself as, this statesman, and he was a rapist. But at the time, in the context of his life, a lot of people owned slaves or owned Africans, right? They enslaved Africans, and they did things like have sex with them, which is called rape. You're enslaving. The person's a prisoner, right? And you're the person imprisoning them, and you bring them in. They can't consent. They can't say no. So there you have it. Now, if you were to show Martin Luther King engaging in extramarital affairs, sleeping with white women, and then he's going out talking, kumbaya, okay, show it. But you can't portray him as a running around adultery and creating person only. You know what I'm saying? No, because you can't reshape his narrative. You can present other elements of the person's character, especially if they're true and you got the hard evidence. Go for it. But if you try to defame the person and bring them down, you going full Tavis Smiley, people are going to have a problem with it. And sometimes it doesn't have much to do with right or wrong. More so is it a violation of the agreement that people have. And if you're willing to go against people, then you have prepared yourself for the consequences. Do it. Revolutionaries do it all the time. One of my great mentors, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, he took him and a group of scholars, Adelaide Sanford and them out of New York, took the whole New York City school curriculum and said, you have excluded African people from this curriculum and the things that they've done. And you have to change this, and we need a curriculum of inclusion. And that became their thing. They went out on a mantra, but there wasn't no fiction in it. They were going on straight facts, and there was consequences. You know, he was chairman of a department, City College, Black Studies Department, and he had to go up against a lot of backlash. He almost lost his job. Adelaide Sanford was a school board person. I forgot what her position was. She was embattled. You know, when I say that, they had to do things to keep themselves employed, you know, and so that they wouldn't have to do normally. So that's what it means embattled. They had to go to meetings. They had to meet before the press. So there you have it. But that's it. I just wanted to, talk a little bit about it. I hope I gave some insight on it. All right. But be careful out there when you changing characters and people. I wouldn't suggest too much. I wouldn't suggest making people negative. All right. And then don't try to make a negative person positive. Right? Don't try to say Hitler was a good father to his children or he took care of his mother. You don't want to hear that. All right? So like, share, subscribe, and comment. All right, I'm out.